Hello everybody, I'm InTheLittleWood, also known as Martin, and welcome back to the channel. So last night we got another brand new blog post from Hytale regarding character customization. I've already covered this topic before with all the material from the announcement trailer, and I sped it up by hundreds of %, painstakingly going through each individual unique frame that we had to showcase the various outfits. If you missed that, there'll be a link in the description to go and check it out, but for now though, let's get started with what's new. Our first piece of new information comes in the form of short hairstyles. Some of these are recognized from my previous video, but it's really cool to see ones like the Mohawk now properly showcased, because remember previously it was only content manager Moo who had this as his avatar on Twitter, and that was around about it. I think my favorite ones here have got to be the Square Enix, the Hanzo, and also Quebec Kid. As much as I joke about Quebec Kid though, can you imagine how cool it would be to be rewarded certain cosmetics based on your progression inside of the adventure mode? I know for me personally, I can say that I would much rather get that as a reward rather than just a regular achievement, whether it be for completing a quest line or an entire zone, you know, defeating massive bosses. Like, imagine having a t-shirt with the faction that you've just helped out's logo right on the chest. Or maybe you could even beat a boss and then wear its skull as a helmet. Okay, maybe that was a little bit far, but the Ferrans did it first. Following that, we have got some long hairstyles, and there's plenty of new ones to see here as well. Some of them actually come with hair clips, so hopefully we're going to have a color pick option to decide what color we want those to be. My favorites out of this bunch are the might as well wear an eye patch, the dead mouse, and the hot cross buns. From here, we finally get to see the extent of the color options. Now, we already knew a lot of these from the previous video, but actually seeing them applied to hairstyles and on top of the head of a character means we get a better idea of how they complement certain skin tones. I think personally, I will be rocking the green, the silver, the light blue, and probably the dirty blonde. Head accessories are next, and there are some new contenders in the race. You can join Team Skull from Pokemon, or you could be a real pirate with a makeshift headband. You can get sorted into the right house on a wizarding server. You can kick ass on the Grand Line with your Gum abilities. You can solve equations. You could be the prettiest flower in the whole garden, or you could hit the catwalk with some real sass. Moving our way down the body, and we now reach the shirts, and there are some brand new ones here as well. Starting off with the Code Geass waistcoat, the Hugh Hefner pajamas, conspiracy theory jumper, looks like tinfoil, and I'm happy to see that we've got confirmation now that there will be an overhead hoodie without the cat on the front, because I wasn't really feeling that. And also, I'm really digging this soft gradient on the last top. The next screenshot shows us three very differently geared up players. One is totally naked, of equipment, head out the gutter people. One in what I can assume is bronze armor, which has a little bit more visibility for your underlying clothes. And then of course the last one is iron armor, which seems to cover everything other than your head. And this is one of the points that I want to raise actually, because in the blog post they say that armor and other equipment is often layered on top of the look that you've defined for your character. And supposedly that provides an extra degree of creative freedom, but honestly, what's the difference between any of these characters if they're wearing iron armor? I'm personally still really holding out for a visibility toggle so you can turn armor pieces on or off. Obviously, it would be limited to adventure mode and maybe certain servers, but obviously in regular minigame PvP situations, you need to know what the enemy has. Being able to turn these on and off will give us an actual true mix of characters that we can see around the world. That will be true variety, and I really hope they do it. Because otherwise, we're literally just heads. Like, realistically, we're just going to be little future armor heads plucked out of one of those weird gloopy jars and just stuck on top of any armor set. They have said there'll be a future post about gear and equipment, so I'll hold my breath until then. Up next, we've got a nifty little demonstration showing off the animation of certain types of clothing as you move around the world. And if I'm not mistaken, this is actually recorded in the main hub area of the minigame server. And whilst we're looking at this environment, by the way, I just want to point out a really small but brilliant detail. So I just wanted to sort of praise them on the rope work on the pirate ship. The ropes seem to vary in length and angle, which is really cool to see. Here's hoping that it's just a simple case of you choose the start point and the end point, and it automatically goes between the two, unless of course something would be obstructing its path. It's just such a nice decorative piece, because if you think about it, in other block-based games, whenever we've wanted to try and create something that has that kind of curve and arch to it, we always have to kind of work with a lot of right angles that trick the eye into seeing what we want it to see, whereas now, we don't have to worry about it. Hytale go on to boast about the magic-rich world and the wide cast of characters that you can find in this fantasy land. But it's not all sunshines and rainbows. Look at this guy right here. He's got a really dirty and haggard look about himself. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Final Fantasy VIII Squall and Tyrion, with that little scar going across his face, although his is a little bit lower on his mouth. He might have missed a memo on that. Or, can you imagine if his mouth opened up like a predator alien? Anyway, beneath that, we get to see 12 different kinds of characters that have been created using the avatar creator. We have got some really cool stuff in here, actually, like a sapphire-studded tiara sitting atop this lady's head, and I wonder what the color picker will let us alter. Maybe both the metal and the gems? I can imagine a few people wanting a gold tiara with rubies inside, as opposed to the silver and sapphires that we see here. Old Captain Rogers has a huge pirate hat in the top right corner. And also, probably my favorite one so far, is that really rad rainbow scarf. Following this artwork, we get a little bit of a comment from Connor Stein-Goodman, one of the artists in Hytale, and he goes on to talk about how they want to appeal to various different types of players, whether that be the casual clothed ones, or the fantasy clothed ones, or maybe even just a little hybrid in between. And he goes on to talk about how the different palettes actually complement these moods that they're going for, like, you know, with the richness of the colours, the depths of the tones, all of them to try and reflect the right mood. For example, the fantasy pieces are going to be a little bit darker and a bit more grungy, whereas the modern clothing is going to be light and bright, and then if you want to go really cute and fun, then you're going to have some soft pastel colours in there. Now, up until this point in the video, I haven't actually been able to contribute much in the way of ideas, speculation, conversation, but it wasn't until I read this paragraph that I realised one major feature is missing that I would love to see. And that feature is a preset option. So imagine making different kinds of characters that fit different environments and different moods. It would be really cool to be able to save those and just change them on the fly. Because I imagine some people want to look a certain way when they're on a minigame server playing some games, but maybe they want to look a little bit more out there and a bit more exaggerated when they're inside of adventure mode where there is this rich world of fantasy. Maybe you just want to slightly alter your character to match the surroundings when you move from zone 1 to 2 to 3 because they're quite drastically different in terms of their climates. And then sometimes you might just want to look fancy. You might want to put a suit on and make your way to the ball. So with the way this blog post is worded so far and the extensiveness of all of these character creation options, it's starting to feel like it's pretty certain that custom skins won't be a thing in Hytale, which is a pretty big shame, but equally I can respect why they've done this. It allows them to keep the brand visually on point so everything looks uniform and together. It removes the strain of them having to police that system and having to, you know, chase down people using risque skins, and imagine the dip in reports for that on the servers as well. Now, as sad as I am about that, I'm equally as excited at the potential opportunity for community involvement. I'm imagining regular competitions where players are able to sketch out different skin concepts like fan art, and basically one winner is selected and their doodle is realised and added into the game for everybody else to play with. And this next image actually shows that off perfectly of how it can go from a concept to a model to a texture to an animated texture and then finally to the game. Just as a little side note, by the way, this outfit right here, love it. I think it's great. It really reminds me of some of the stuff from the Gerudo village in Breath of the Wild, the latest Zelda game. But anyway, a final note on this topic before we move on. If all of the cosmetic pieces are going to be native within the game files of Hytale, then I can't imagine it would be that difficult to allow us to change our avatar whilst we're in game. I'm not saying that we would get access to the entire creator mode whilst inside of adventure mode or on a gameplay server, but maybe with presets we could do quick swaps. Because other people's computers don't need to go and ping a server in order to download the file. Really all it is just saying, right, well, it's shirt 3, pants 5, hair 21, and trousers 8. I'm just imagining something like the portal animation from the announcement trailer engulfing the player and changing you into your brand new avatar. That's just some food for thought for Hytale. Presets and fast changing. That'd be great. Hey! My guess was correct about the mysterious final icon on the avatar creation screen. If you didn't see my previous video, I'd speculated before about the smiling emoji potentially meaning for players that emotes would be present in Hytale, and now it's being confirmed. It seems as though a lot of them will happen passively, like standing idle and looking around with your eyebrows raising, or maybe your character will wince or grit their teeth a little bit when they take damage, or they swing the sword, or they take a long fall. And they could go really far with this and do some real nice subtleties, like maybe your character will like close their mouth and their eyes as they first plunge into water for the first time, and then they sort of open and do that kind of awkward blink as their eyes adjust. So as well as these passive ones, they have made mention that some of them will be manually triggered, but currently we don't know how that would happen. They could go down the route of typing in a command in chat, so you could do like /laugh, dance, cry, yawn, and a whole heap of others. This might be the most purposeful method for people that are wanting to be actors in machinima recordings. They hit the button, it does the emote at the exact moment they request. Another popular input method is the pick wheel. We've seen it inside of Fortnite. You press a key, the circle comes up, you move your mouse over the emote you want to trigger, you click, you're good to go. Or a slightly more unique approach could actually be selecting favorites from within this avatar creation menu and then having them bound to hotkeys. I know I personally would happily bind a load of emotes to hotkeys, maybe on my numpad, because I never use that when I'm playing games. My right hand is typically on, you know, my mouse, my left hand is on the other side of the keyboard. There'd be no conflicts. Just a final little note on this one as well. It was announced yesterday that Alfonso Ribeiro, who plays guy, Carlton in The Fresh Prince, actually lost his court case against Fortnite about having the Carlton dance inside of the game. And this is probably going to mean the same for a load of other singular dance moves, so get on it, Hypixel. We want to floss in the lobby. You can't stop us unless you don't make it, but you can't stop us. So, here it is. The big bombshell that they dropped at the very end of the blog post, which people may not have read all the way down to. There will be other playable races for yourself inside the world of Hytale, and we've just had the second one confirmed. This, everybody, for now, is what I'm going to label as a woodland elf. And you know what's the best and most annoying thing about this? They were already shown to us. They're literally in the first shot of the trailer. Slow it down. Look, right? Let's slow it down. Look right there. Near identical outfit, but more importantly, ears. Big, pointy, elfy ears. Although I'm not being too hard on myself because it was hidden behind the wand for 90% of its movement, but GG Hypixel, you snuck that one past us. Either way, I'm a sucker for pointy ears on my avatar in pretty much any video game, and with the world filled to the brim with magic and fantasy, this race is a perfect pick. If you take a closer inspection, you can see that the eyes are actually very different to anything we've seen before. You might remember from the previous video that the humans only had 3 different eye types, so that makes me wonder, is each race going to have their own unique cosmetics? The same thing going as well for the face accessories, or I guess in this case, face paint, or war paint, whatever you'd like to call it, but I can imagine them really tying this into the lore, maybe saying that certain emblems that they have on their face and certain colorings actually represent their role within their own race's community. And I hadn't really thought about it until now, but I'm going to really enjoy learning about the lore and the backstory of the various factions that we get to play, not just the NPCs. You know what would be really cool is if at the beginning of each adventure campaign, depending on what race you select, you start off in a different location. Will the humans have an equivalent of World of Warcraft Stormwind? Will the elves be embedded deep inside of the woods with their own set of challenges to overcome before they can start worrying about anybody else's problems? It's going to be very interesting to learn about this, and once again, this just re-emphasizes my point even clearer that we need to have a character swap ability. Something that's probably quite important to note about this character as well is that it's got pretty much an identical size and shape to the humans, so I'm starting to wonder if only humanoid shaped characters of this scale will be playable inside Hytale, because I imagine they'd have to redesign every single piece of armor in order for it to work with something like a dwarf, a goblin, or a gnome. Would they go to these lengths to have that variety of playable characters? Maybe? I'm not convinced though. That being said though, we've already seen a great demonstration of just how varied characters can be if they share the same model. I mean, look at the Slothians, the Mermen, even the Undead. They work with transparencies, and all of them can easily wear any equipment. You know what? I'll put it out there right now. I would love to play as a human-sized golem. You know the stone golem, the one that's currently corrupted in the Temple of Gaia? Imagine playing a baby version of that. That would be the best race. How about cat people? Maybe. Final Fantasy had the Emote and they were pretty popular, so could Hytale go full Animu? This is genuinely blowing the doors clean off and I'm chomping at the bit for more information, but that's why we're going to have to leave it there for today, because for now, we don't know anything more. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I'm going to pass a question off to you guys. What do you think to the newly announced elf race, and do you think we will get custom skins still, or do you think that's now a pipe dream? I look forward to reading those and replying to a bunch of them in the comment section below, and as always, if you'd like to talk all things Hytale, we do have a dedicated chat for it inside of my Discord. The link as always is in the description, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you don't miss a single one of my updates regarding Hytale, and have a little click on one of these videos on the screen right now. You might just learn something else about the game that you didn't know already. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time, everybody. Bye bye.